Today on the show, we'll be joined by your Vice President of Housing and Community, James Robertson.
And Chris Hutchinson, who will be giving us the media side to Guild elections. We'll be asking them about how the Guild represents you.
And we'll also be talking to them about why you should vote in the Guild and why it really matters.
Good morning and welcome to the second day of campaigning. I'm Josh Pedimonge.
And I'm Katharine Walker.
As I said before, later on we'll be talking to James Robertson about how the Guild represents your views.
We'll also be looking at what it means to run in the Guild elections and the responsibilities that it involves.
Now, elections only started yesterday, but there's already so much to see and do, both on campus and online.
It seems that our candidates were very busy at the weekend, writing, blogging, and some even making their own music videos.
There's a lot of interesting gimmicks out there, and although elections are an important issue, there's a lot of fun to be had.
Exactly, that's a brilliant point, Josh. But now we're going to see what happened on campus of campaigning yesterday.
Hi, I'm here in Mermaid Square as the Guild as campaigning starts for Guild elections 2013. The candidates are ready to go with cardboard and sweets trying to get people on board and to vote for them in this year's elections. Hi, I'm here in Mermaid Square as the Guild as campaigning starts for Guild elections 2013. The candidates are ready to go with cardboard and sweets trying to get people on board and to vote for them in this year's elections. At the library, where you can see there's a wide range of banners, but a lack of candidates, which is slightly disappointing, but oh well, not to worry. Tomorrow hopefully we'll be seeing them and getting their views and opinions on elections so far. It's getting exciting now, the university's looking really colourful, but as exciting as they look, I can't really talk to a banner. So there we go, I've been Lauren Dickenson for Guild TV, back to the studio.
Welcome back. We just want to apologise for a few technical difficulties we're having.
But as we can see from that video, there's a lot happening on the Guild already.
But now we're joined by your Vice President of Housing and Community, James Robertson. Hello James, and thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi,
so one thing we want to talk about today is that in last year's elections, only about 25% of people actually voted. So do you think there's a problem with people being able to engage students or students just not wanting to vote in elections?
I think 25% isn't that bad. It sounds like a bad figure, but if you look at other universities, we don't come out that badly. There's some that get less than 10% of turnout.
Wow.
And bear in mind the size of our university, it is quite a lot of people that do engage. Some people just don't want to.
Fair enough, I suppose.
It's a shame we can't get everyone who does get involved with the Guild to then vote in the elections, but it changes from year to year. Things get better.
Do you think the Guild are doing everything they can to try and just push it out there, or do you think there's more that could be done?
We tend to rely a lot on the candidates to just promote the fact that something's happening, and that tends to get most of the work done. This year we are trying a few other things. You guys are helping get the elections out there much wider. I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So as a candidate, how hard is it to reach everyone, to campaign? Obviously you have to go around knocking on doors. It must be quite hard to try and reach everyone.
It really does depend on the size of your team. Like I only had me and my girlfriend who were campaigning, and when there's only two of you, you can't door knock everyone. We did most of the Vale, and that was about it.
Yeah.
You can only focus on whoever walks past certain entrances to get people to know about you. So
I think you did very well winning. There were just two of you. That's great.
it was a hard 2 weeks.
Do you think the Guild is representative of all students' views, or do you think it's a certain minority?
I think it's a mix of both. At times we do cater for much wider people, but at times we can be a bit too focused on smaller groups, which isn't a bad thing at those situations.
Yeah.
But at times it can feel to other people outside that it's a bit of a careerist club. It's not really engaging with everybody else.
Do you think there's any way to change that, or do you think it's something that the Guild needs to start working on over the next few years?
Well, it only happens because the people that get in, if people want to vote for people that more represent what they think the Guild should be about, then this is their opportunity. This Guild Council elections, those are the times to try and get the Guild to represent the wider body, if that's what you want to call it.
Is there anything you want to see the future VPHC continue with?
I would like them to continue, because of the role of housing and community stuff, it's a much longer term thing. The council work a lot slower than what we try and work.
Yeah.
So I can only put things into practice to start with. And I need somebody, although they'll come in with their new ideas, I need them to kind of carry on what I've started.
Yeah,
things
definitely.
like lowering housing licences and things. I need them to
very
keep
much
things
a
going.
team effort then.
Yeah.
And what do you feel about some of the manifestos that are appearing from some of the VPHCs?
There's some interesting ones.
Yeah.
I've only seen the visuals so far, and some of them are a bit vague. So I'm looking forward to reading the full version to find out what they really want to do.
And having a look at back when you were campaigning, have you got any kind of funny memories, any kind of not so funny memories that you don't mind sharing with us?
Funny memories. There was a kid in Elgar who opened the door in his towel. But
Brilliant.
to be fair to him, he then got all his other flatmates out to talk to me, so that was
Living
brilliant.
towels.
No, they were all dressed actually. But
No.
it's a hard 2 weeks. It's you go up and down some days. Like when I was going around Elgar, I was buzzing off the ceiling. Campaign. There's a few people that helped me that day. Kind of were like, he's losing control. He's getting well excited. And some days it's like, I don't want to do it anymore.
And how does the campaigning process compare to then actually winning, becoming a SAB, and actually thinking, oh, I have to do the job now?
It's about as hectic every day
Yeah.
is campaigning over again. I'm not envious of these guys doing it now. When I stood there yesterday morning looking around going, yeah, glad I ain't rerunning.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us
No
today,
problem.
James.
Now, student representation is a real issue here at Guild elections. Last year, as we've said, only 25% of people actually voted.
Yes, so now we're going to join Guild TV's Claire Lynch, who's going to investigate student apathy and why so many people don't seem to want to engage with the Guild.
Last year, only 6,161 students out of nearly 28,000 voted in the Guild elections. Are we struggling with a problem of student apathy?
One day into elections, the campus has already transformed. There are bright cardboard posters and enthusiastic students in strange costumes at every corner. However, despite outward appearances, election fever only manages to infect a minority of students.
I'm not planning on voting.
Looking at the statistics, it is clear that the majority of students don't vote. Is it because they don't care? Is it because they think the Guild officers can't make a difference? Or is it because they don't have access to the information available?
Whatever the reason, it is a growing problem that our Guild officers need to address. However, in the wake of controversy surrounding the General Meeting, our Vice President of Democracy and Resources, Leander Jones, resigned from his position on the Election Committee. As a result, there seems to be few resources available to deal with this problem.
If I had the information, I think I would vote, because from previous experience I know that it can make a difference and your student voice can be heard, but I wouldn't want to vote for something if I didn't know what I was voting for.
The main thing is just to get people aware.
The Guild should do some events in the med school as well to bring everyone over to our area so we don't always have to commute over, it's a bit far.
If you don't plan on voting in the Guild elections, remember this. Each candidate gets paid £17,000 over their term in office. So make sure you and your
And that was a real insight into why voting is so important here at Guild elections.
But now we're joined by the digital editor of Redbrick, Chris Hutchinson. So hello, Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So obviously today we've been talking about representation and the Guild, and what part do you think media has to play in that?
Quite a lot, to be honest. We are one of the best ways that anyone on campus can get out to the wider body, whether that be through things like this on YouTube, things like Burn FM on the radio, and things like Redbrick on its website and in the newspaper. People pick them up or just browse them through Facebook, and they're very important. The messages that come through there are positive and encourage people. Or alternatively, if there's a valid reason, we're also there to critique and bring up issues that also are worth considering for the students.
Now, you mentioned a few there, but media is quite a sort of broad term. What are the sort of media centres in the Guild?
In the Guild we have a media centre down the basement which has Redbrick, Burn FM, Guild TV, there's Photosoc as well, and there's a few other things, sort of smaller magazines that are more niche But then also in the Guild there's also things in terms of social media. It depends really how you want to class media, whether you want to talk to it in the sense of sort of traditional publishing, or through videos and things like this, or through social media where people can be their own journalists, they can say their own things. And it's a very difficult way to determine media, but it's very important regardless of the way you look at it.
I mean, nowadays I think, social media like Twitter, Facebook, it's just exploded.
It is,
and obviously a lot of the candidates have their own Facebook sites, some even have their own dedicated websites, making videos. So do you think that's going to play a really important role in engaging voters?
It is, yeah. I mean, there was a few candidates last year that had them, but it's definitely increased this year. And a lot of people going towards personal Twitter accounts rather than dedicated ones towards their campaign. What I think is great about the personal Twitter accounts is you actually get your own personality across. People are voting for you partially on your policies, and hopefully maybe less so on gimmicks. Than possibly could be the case, but a lot on personality and why you're going to be good in that role, why you're going to be able to handle difficult situations, and you can get that by looking at the sort of things people talk about in their day-to-day lives, the sort of things they get involved with, and Twitter particularly is a great insight into that. So it's nice to see some candidates really using their personal accounts.
Now, for the first time this year, the three main media groups have sort of combined a website, haven't they?
We have, yeah.
Do you want to just talk a bit about
that? Yeah,
so
you're probably either watching it now or you may have seen it, which is www.guildelections.co.uk. And it's basically a place where we can bring everything together, because last year we started really digging deep in this coverage, doing a lot of things, and Redbrick did its own site and it was okay, but you guys were from Guild TV were doing some really good videos and Ben FM was doing some really good coverage, and you couldn't get it all in the one place, and so it seemed logical this year to have one place where you could go for absolutely everything. The students wouldn't get part of the story, they'd get all of the story, so that's really nice, and it looks great, and we've had some really positive viewing figures over the past, since campaigning opened, and even before campaigning when we managed to launch the candidate list and the manifestos. All of that was really nice, so it's going well.
So in terms of kind of after campaigning and when the SABs are elected, do you think that they could use, this media platform as a way to engage with voters and kind of be like, look, this is what I'm doing, we're being successful, to help people engage a bit more?
Absolutely. I mean, at the moment, Guild media as a whole is the best way, in my opinion, to get your voice out there in the Guild. The Guild's internal media systems aren't as good as they could be, and I think what we've done this year, in addition to the things we've all been doing over the past 12 months, is showing the Guild actually there is much better ways to do media, and the sabbatical office can use us to air their views, but also we're there to hold them to account. We actually represent the students, not the officers, so we do have to be careful in terms of how we handle that. But in terms of Guild TV and on your videos, that works really well. You've done lots of videos over the past few months of officers and what they're up to, and that's great for students to look into. But I think the Guild can really learn a few lessons from us, really, the sort of things that we're doing.
Well, thanks very much for joining us today, Chris, and answering a few of the questions.
I'm afraid that wraps up your elections update for today.
But don't forget that a lot of the nominees have websites and blogs that you might want to check out before voting opens on Monday.
And of course, make sure to keep up to date with Redbrick, Burn FM and Guild TV's coverage of the elections in the next few days. I'm Katharine Walker.
And I'm Josh Payton-Monge.
And this has been your elections update.
Thanks for watching.